The motorcade returning the presidential party to Carswell Air Force Base is scheduled to leave downtown Fort Worth at 10:30 with departure for Dallas at 11:15 a.m. The president will address a luncheon in Dallas, then go to Austin for a major speech tonight at a party fundraising dinner. Another Dallas visitor is former Vice President Nixon, who's on a business trip for his New York law firm. He's made plans to leave Dallas this morning prior to President Kennedy's arrival. Nixon predicted Thursday that President Kennedy will discard Vice President Johnson as a running mate next year if the race looks close. In St. Louis, Republican National Chairman William Miller predicts there will be no draft candidate at next summer's GOP convention. He says that party presidential hopefuls will have to work for the nomination. He says anyone who just sits by expecting to be drafted is in for a disappointment. A birthday party for a 6-year-old girl ended in horror last night in a modest frame home near Truman, Arkansas. Authorities say that a 34-year-old drink-crazed farmer, apparently beset with family troubles, shot 4 persons to death and then took his own life. Police say Sammy Penter killed his wife, his mother-in-law, his sister-in-law, and his 6-year-old stepdaughter before shooting himself. A bedraggled Russian diplomat, not even wearing shoes, arrived in Brussels this morning after being expelled from the Congo. Several hours later, the Russian Boris Voronin was hustled aboard a Soviet plane bound for Moscow. The fate of the other Soviet diplomat picked up on subversion charges in the Congo is not known. The Congolese premier has ordered the entire Soviet diplomatic mission expelled from Leopoldville.
The 570 Weathercast presented by
the Union Bank of Fort Worth.
In Dallas, cloudy. The relative humidity is 90%. The wind south at 5 miles per hour. Barometer stands at 29.83 steady. It's 55 degrees. At Fort Worth, cloudy with a light rain. Humidity 86. The wind south-southeast 9 miles per hour. Barometer falling from 29.82. The present temperature 53 degrees. Time at the tone, 8:30 from Broadcast Hill, WBAP 570, Fort Worth. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Man Show. Gene O'Bannon here with mostly music, of course. The President of the United States will speak at 9 a.m. from the Hotel Texas in Fort Worth on WBAP 820 in Fort Worth. And just a few moments from now, we'll be joining the festivities with Frank Mills and Nick Ramsey and David Daniels. So stand by. It's 21 minutes before 9, and from Hotel Texas, here is Frank Mills with an 820 Mike Side report.
And we, with some 2,000 or more other people, are still awaiting the arrival of the President, who in approximately 6 minutes, if plans hold up, will be speaking to the crowd outside, rain or no rain, in the parking lot directly across the street from the south entrance to the Texas Hotel. He'll be speaking from a specially erected platform there. Political observers, are saying that the President's appearance in Texas this time will be observed as a weather vane for the 1964 campaign. If that is so, the President can point to his abilities as a rainmaker, and if he can sell that idea, he ought to gain a lot of support, because if there's one thing that all of Texas has agreed upon, it is that we do need rain. We've had it a couple of days ago, we have it today, and there is an outside chance, at least, that they might break up long enough for him to make a dry appearance out there in the parking lot, but if it doesn't, then it will be a wet one, according to plans. Things should clear pretty well by the time of his arrival in Dallas this afternoon, and better than a 50-50 chance that festivities, the parade, etc. there will be conducted without showers. But the showers will begin to form again. The instability will still be with us, and probably the rain will follow the President on down to Austin. Well, as I mentioned earlier this morning, the Nick Ramsey, who was with us here at our WBAP microphones today, has been circulating through the crowd with the tape recorder. That shows you how long I've been doing this. The tape recorder, getting interviews with people. And here are some interesting comments that he recorded about an hour or two ago.
Let's talk to a lady here at the presidential breakfast in Hotel Texas. Your name, please?
Mrs. Edward Moore.
Where are you from, Ms. Moore?
I'm from Fort Worth.
You're from Fort Worth. What, did you get up early this morning, earlier than usual?
I got up at 5 o'clock. First time I've set the alarm in years.
I see. What brings you to the breakfast primarily? Is it to see the President, or is it the charm of the First Lady? What is the most attractive element of the presidential breakfast?
The most important thing is to see the president, then to see Mrs. Kennedy. I think she's lovely, but I think our president does come first.
I see.
She's a lovely person.
Well, you look like you're happy to be here.
Very happy.
That's good. Let's talk to another lady here. What is your name, please?
Mrs. Bob Cartwright.
And where are you from, Miss Cartwright?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth? Well, we're well represented this morning.
Yes.
What is the particular attraction here for you?
Well, I agree with the First Lady there that our president is most important.
And I'm sure you're looking forward to a good breakfast.
Oh, yes, after staying here this long.
How long have you been here this morning?
Since 6:15.
Since 6:15. You've been
Yes.
here in the hotel?
Yes.
Well, it looks like everyone got up early. I remember when I came in at 6 o'clock, there were a group of youngsters who had been standing at the front of the hotel since about 3 o'clock.
Oh,
And so it seems that the President and the First Lady and their being in Fort Worth and in Dallas appeals to a lot of people.
yes, I'm sure.
Let's talk to this gentleman here. Is this Mr. Cartwright?
Yes.
All right, sir.
Bob Cartwright.
Yes, sir. And I know you look like you've been looking forward to the breakfast.
Well,
You're one of the fortunate 2,000, I believe.
yes, but I waked up at 2:30 and couldn't go back to sleep, so this is a rough day.
I see. Is it, do you like the idea that the President is visiting our town?
Oh, yes, I do. I think it's...
How do you feel that Fort Worth, he will be impressed by Fort Worth as a city?
Well, I think Fort Worth has really turned out for him. I think the business houses turning on the lights last night, the work that the Chamber of Commerce has done is going to make a very lasting impression, I hope, on the President and also the Vice President.
Well, that's Mr. Cartwright.
Yes.
And his idea is concerning how Fort Worth has turned out to welcome the President. And I know that you're glad to be at the breakfast. Thank you so much, both you and Mrs. Cartwright, for talking with us.
Thank you.
Let's talk to this gentleman here. Your name, sir?
John Herrick.
Mr. Herrick, you're up bright and early this morning. Is it your usual procedure to get up early in the morning?
Not quite this early, but I really feel that history will recognize this man as being one of the greatest presidents we've had. And so I do not want to lose the opportunity just because of a few hours sleep to see him.
I see. I've heard some talk that this is a non-political trip. Do you believe that evaluation holds as of this moment?
Well, I think so, because I think regardless of party, a sense of excitement has been going through Fort Worth for the last 4 or 5 days. And the fact that our president is here is, I think, enough to say that it is a non-political trip.
All right, so thank you very much for talking with us. And we'll be talking with some other people here at the Hotel Texas Presidential Breakfast throughout the morning. Some of the 2,000 who will be at the breakfast itself. This is Nick Ramsey, returning you to the studio.
This is David Daniel just outside Hotel Texas on the parking lot, awaiting the arrival of President Kennedy for his outside speech at 8:45. A police captain has estimated the crowd at 2,000 people. They're about 50 deep, forming an arch behind wooden barricades and forming a semicircle. An announcement was just made that President Kennedy, along with Vice President Johnson, Senator Yarborough, and Representative Jim Wright would be here in just a moment, and urged the crowd to bear with us. And that was the result, an outburst by the crowd. And here is the President.
That's the kind of strength the United States needs, economically, in space, militarily. And in the final analysis, that strength depends upon the willingness of the citizens of the United States to assume the burdens of leadership. I know one place where they are. Here in this rain, in Fort Worth, in Texas, in the United States, we're going forward. Thank you.
The President now takes his...
Thank you for being here. The President and Mrs. Kennedy will begin the motorcade here after the Chamber of Commerce breakfast is over. Thank you so much.
That was Representative Jim Wright. Now the president makes his way to greet some more of the crowd, walking around the barricades, touching the hands of those around the barricade. We have a long microphone which is about 14 inches long. It looks sort of like a long pistol. Secret Service agent approached us and says, just don't put that in front of the president.